at the beginning, like in the immediate aftermath of her death, I definitely feel signs of struggling. However, in my school, in my university, there were very, very few resources to reach help. So even though I recognized my signs of struggling, I didn't know where to go to help.
Hey, welcome back to Normalize the Conversation. Today I'm here with Herbert. They are a pianist, photographer, and mental health advocate. Herbert is also a speaker for Jack.org. Herbert, I am so excited for this conversation. We actually connected on Instagram a while ago and have really built this friendship. So thank you so much for being so willing to come on the podcast. How are you really?
I'm feeling great. Thank you, friend, for this opportunity. Really excited.
Of course. I am so excited because you have an amazing story. So I would
Yeah.
love to jump right in and tell us a little bit about your mental health journey.
So first of all, my mental health journey is very detailed and very long. So actually, it was so long that when I first seeked help from a therapist last year, it took me the first full 2 sessions, so 2 hours in total, to tell my whole story in all the detail. So it's really hard to summarize, but to keep it short, I I've lived in Toronto for most of my life, from grades 1 to 12, and then I studied in university in Ottawa and Montreal. So University of Ottawa and McGill University, respectively, before moving to Vancouver last summer. So that is basically my physical journey. So my mental health journey basically begins like very early in my life. I definitely have suffered from depression before. Definitely have experienced unsupportive parents and also just academic pressure, like very typical like problems that most young people have faced these days. And it's again, it's very exhaustive to talk about all of this, but the bulk of my mental health journey that's worthy of talking about was actually starting in university when actually in my first year of university, I experienced the loss of a family member the first time. So a trigger warning into that. There will also be a brief mention of like mental illness and depression as well. So that is something to keep in mind. So the loss of my family member in 2014 was my mom's mother. So she was very close to me, very nice person, and that because that I haven't had much space to grieve with that. It took me many, many years to heal. And it wasn't until my fourth year of university that I've traveled for quite a bit. Like traveling is a form of self-care for me as well. I do a lot of travel photography. But the last year of university, I had a friend who organized a leadership conference, a leadership summit in the countryside north of Toronto. So that's in a 4 day camp, overnight camp there, and we had such a nice time. Like I've learned a lot of leadership facilitation skills. I learned how to talk openly about mental health without judgment for the first time in one of our discussion groups. And it was actually through that camp where I made a new friend who introduced me to this wonderful organization called Jack.org. So Jack is JACK, Jack.org. So we are a mental health charity, a nationwide charity in Canada where we train and empower young people to revolutionize mental health through three main programs. So we do talks, chapters, and summits. So talks, we do Jack Talks, where we give presentations about mental health to schools and community groups. We also do chapters. So chapters, we are little community-oriented groups where we work on mental health on a localized scale and being suited to the community while being supported by the main organization and summits. This is my favorite part. These are large gatherings of youth mental health advocates from all over the country, combined with mental health professionals and keynote speakers and panelists, collaborative sessions together. Just a really fun time. And actually, speaking about that, we do have a national summit every March. I just came back from Toronto this weekend from this national summit, and we had such a great time. This is like one of my best moments in my life ever, because it was also my first in-person event of any kind in 2 years. So got to reconnect with some old friends, made some new friends as well, had some really nice conversations with those speakers as well. And we just talked a lot of like mental health things that we are working to fix. For instance, in Canada, we have a lot of problems like regarding Indigenous people and colonialism, and how this has severely affected human rights, and how talking about Indigenous mental health is so important in this space, and how we work to decolonize that and work together to advance their human rights as well. So yeah, so that's basically it. That's a little bit of background about jack.org as well. It basically means everything to me. So it's so wonderful to be with them.
Wow. First of all, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. And the work that you're doing is amazing. And I can't wait to dive in and talk more about it. But going back to your story and your experience with your mental health, it's very common that we start to struggle a lot when we lose someone, especially the first time, because no one prepares us on how to grieve. I know that's really kind of my story too. When I lost my grandfather, I had no idea what to do. I had no idea what I was supposed to be feeling, how to cope, how to grieve, how to keep going. So during that experience for you, I'm very curious, how did you know that you were struggling and it was time for you to reach out for help?
Well, at the beginning, like in the immediate aftermath of her death, I definitely feel signs of struggling. However, in my school, in my university, there were very, very few resources to reach help. So even though I recognized my signs of struggling, I didn't know where to go to help. Like the school wasn't listening, the teachers, the professors, they didn't have any mental health training at all. And I know we shouldn't talk about politics at all, but also the city that I studied in, university language is unfortunately very highly politicized. So that also affected how available the mental health resources are. So I tried many years throughout my university in vain, to no avail. Like reaching out to a therapist, that didn't work out at all. So regarding reaching help, it's a years long process. When I first discovered jack.org in 2018, they mentioned about the importance of reaching help, and that was pretty much an eye opener at first. And I started trying to reach out to a peer support service in my university. That kind of helped, but it wasn't very helpful in the long run. The listener was okay, but some of her knowledge was lacking. But during the pandemic, somebody suggested a online help resource. Everyone probably has heard of BetterHelp before. Not trying to solicitate that, but just to know that I've tried this resource. The counselor was okay, but because BetterHelp has counselors all over the world, it was very hard to connect, because the counselor was geographically very far away from my place. So a lot of community issues, we didn't really connect together. And finally, when I moved to Vancouver in 2021, the summer of that year, I actually 4 days after I moved in, I was able to connect with a therapist in person locally. So that was really awesome. As again, I spent the first 2 sessions talking about my story, and then afterwards, lots of things that she was very helpful on. We understood a lot of community issues together, and also skills like narrative therapy that she talked about really well. And also, I started journaling, and writing is so therapeutic. And actually, just last month, I started my fourth journal. So the journals that I have are about 200 pages each. So I write every day, and this is something that is so healing, and also that has helped me improve my speech so immensely. In the past, I struggled with something called stuttering. Not a lot of people understand it, but it's something that really exists. It's something that's very real and does affect how we speak quite tremendously. But after that, I just spoke a lot better, a lot more smoothly, a lot less filler words. So like reaching help is so empowering, and I honestly really highly recommend you doing it. Yeah.
Thank you again so much for being so open and brave with sharing the resources that you've tried as well. I don't think there's enough conversation on what resources people have tried, whether or not they've been right for them. I think that people listening who don't know where to start, I mean, like you said, it's so hard to find therapists. It is so hard with our schools, again, not to go political, but politics and funding play a huge role in whether or not you can access treatment. So when you can't and you don't know what to do, knowing about other resources that are available for you to research yourself, for you to try, can be so helpful. So thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your kind of experience with it. And journaling, that's over 600 pages.
Yes.
I love that so much. I started bullet journaling this past
Yeah.
week with my brother's girlfriend, and it's been so fun to just express myself in different ways. So, what kind of journaling do you do? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So it's mostly in prose. So basically, like just free writing. Sometimes I do bulleting as well, but mostly it's just like free writing. I also, I also really find it helps a lot to use a fountain pen, which writes so much better than anything else. So that encourages me to write even more. Also, I really like beautiful journal covers, that also really helps as well. And I've just seen other people like do journaling vlogs. I see there's a channel that reviews a lot of different fountain pens. That one really that is a big inspiration for me as well. Yeah.
I love that. Do you have a favorite journaling prompt by chance?
I don't know. There's a lot in my mind, but I love to do just gratitude statements, like being grateful for these people, certain things, gratitude about nature. That's something that I talk about very often. Gratitude for people who I work with in mental health, and it just like people in general, like people who have empowered me, like really means a lot. Yeah.
I love that so much. Gratitude practices are amazing. I know in my experience, I can say that gratitude has been a real eye opener on the support system that I have around me, because it's so easy to feel alone when you're struggling with your mental health, when you're living with a mental illness. It's so easy to think you're the only one in this and that there's no one for you to talk to, or there's nothing that you can do that's going to make you feel better. But like you said, nature, that's a big one for me, and realizing how grateful I am to have a space where I can go outside and feel the sun on my skin, or
Mm.
how grateful I am to have, like, for example, my younger cousin, she's been spending the day with me today. When I've been having so much anxiety lately, she was like, you know what? Let me be there for you. Let me help you and do some stuff with you to help alleviate your stress. So, gratitude has been a great way for me to realize all the support I have around me when it's so easy for my head to tell me how I'm the only one going through this. But I really want to switch over now because, first of all, let's talk about your shirt. For those of you who are listening and not watching, your shirt
Mm.
says, "This is what a mental health advocate looks like."
Yes.
I Love that. Is that shirt from Jack.org?
Yes.
That is amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about your work? And you said you like to speak and you were at that summit. So tell us a little bit about the speeches that you do.
So I love how you briefly mentioned about Be There. That is actually a resource that we talk about so often. So bethere.org. It's a wonderful self-help resource that we created over many years of work. So there are the 5 golden rules of being there for someone. So say what you see, um, show that you care, hear them out, know your role, and connect them to help. So these are wonderful. Like it makes a huge difference, especially if you're just starting out with mental health advocacy and you don't know what to do. So like these 5 points, they help so much. Actually, this is something that we talk about in Jack Talks a lot. So basically, if I go through briefly in these 5 points, say what you see. So basically, just state the direct facts. Don't go into much explaining. So let's say that you have a friend that you often go to basketball practice with, and we often see each other, but lately you've been noticing that friend hasn't been coming to practice for a few sessions now, and you want to ask, hey, I noticed that you haven't been coming to practice for a while. Is that anything all right? So just asking how they are, how they feel. It's that simple. So show that you care. Basically, just saying that I really care about you. I really care about your well-being. Showing your empathy, that's really important. Hear them out. So basically, just hear what they are saying. So don't judge, don't try to interrupt. Of course, you can ask questions to further clarify as needed, but just hear what they are saying, and that's really important. Know your roles. This is also really important because you're likely not a counselor or a therapist or a professional of any kind. So just don't try to pretend that you're one of these roles, because that can be counterproductive and harmful. So just tell them that you're not a counselor or a therapist. I cannot give you advice like this, but I can connect you to help. And if you have an idea of what kind of help you can look out for, definitely you could share, but you could also share them to share like help resources to them. And this is the 5th rule: connect them to help. And connect them to help is really important. A lot of people can feel like really intimidated about finding help. That is totally normal, because like it's kind of like walking into a new school, you know, like you don't really know anyone. It's a completely new environment. I totally get it. However, if you are not comfortable in reaching in-person help, you could always try phone lines at first. So in Canada, we have the Kids Help Phone. In the US, there is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I love how they're changing it to 988 because it's so much easier to remember. There are also many other resources online that you can find. And yeah, so basically a little bit into Jack Talks. So they are mental health presentations that we give to schools and community groups. So basically talking about the background of mental health, asking them, do you know what mental health is? Do you know what mental illness is? Do you know how to find and connect to help? And also just stating the statistics, like the statistics of mental health that can be quite disturbing. 1 in 4 Canadians can't really find help. Like 1 in 5 suffer from a mental illness of any kind. So those are this kind of stats that we would like to change for the better through active advocacy, and pressuring governments to change. Like policy change is really important into this. And I'm sure that many other countries do have similar stats as well. And unfortunately, there are other cultures where there is an even more active stigma against mental health. So like culturally sensitive resources is a really important thing. I was actually advocating at the national summit that we should have resources catering to people who have family overseas who are suffering from oppressive governments and in a state of war. So unfortunately, I do have family overseas that are under an oppressive government right now. That unfortunately is a very real issue that brings a lot of trauma. There's also the issue with the war in Ukraine that unfortunately is terrifying in all respects. In my first year of university, we actually had an international student from Ukraine, and he was a very nice person, and lots of stories that he shared with us. So very eye-opening from that experience. But basically, Jack Talks is a wonderful program for youth mental health advocates looking to start to work into this. Currently, we're working only in Canada, but I'm sure there are similar resources outside of Canada as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that useful information. What you started with, the 5 rules, amazing, first of all. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think our listeners can really find value in learning how to be there and recommend someone to support, give them options that are available to them. I think a lot of people, because they don't know what to do, they don't know what to say, they don't know how to help, they just avoid, right? So instead of listening and helping them research options that are available to them, they kind of just back away and they're like, you need help. I can't help you. So you're on your own. And knowing that, just researching and referring someone somewhere. I can't help you. I can listen to you. I can sit here with you, but I'm not a professional. I can't tell you what to do, but I can help you find a therapist that might work for you, or I might be able to help you find a hotline to reach out to, or explore coping mechanisms, or find a workbook, find a nonprofit, find somewhere to connect you, a peer support group. So I think that is very, very valuable. And I'm so happy you brought that up. And then jumping over to the work you're doing and what you spoke about the summit, there are not enough resources for third parties in general out there, but specifically for, we're in very unique positions. I mean, I can specifically speak in the US, very unique position where we have a democracy. We have a lot of resources and tools that are available to us. In a lot of countries, they don't have that. The stigma is even worse. The mental health, there are countries where there are like 7 psychiatric hospitals in the country. That's it. And they're still using the insane asylum type models. So being in a very unique position and not knowing how to support someone who's not can be very overwhelming and stressful. So you are 100% right. Being able to make those resources available would be huge.
Yes, for sure. And also, I like how you brought up that point of insane asylums, because I also like to point out how movies depict psych wards and psych units, how they depict them as terrifying places absolutely would discourage anyone from reaching help, I know like not all psych wards are the same, but like how movies depict them, like that has to change, Like I remember when I first encountered that, it definitely is terrifying, It portrays the image of mental health as something terrifying when in fact mental health is something that all of us have. 5 in 5 of us has mental health. Like we need to distinguish mental health and mental illness as 2 separate things. Like mental illness is like they are specific symptoms, they are specific clusters of symptoms of an illness that involves like mental health, like depression, schizophrenia, bipolar. We've all heard of this, so we really need to make a distinction on these.
I completely agree. The distinction is so important. We all have mental health, but mental illness, 20% of the population in the world has been diagnosed. There are a lot of people who don't reach out for help that have never gotten a diagnosis, so that number could be more. Yeah. But it's really important to realize that you're not the only one. And it's not just a small amount of people struggling. 20% of the world's population is a
Mm,
lot. That's
yes.
a lot of people. So you are not alone in it, and it's okay to need help. I mean, I've been inside a psych ward, and I can tell you, not perfect, but it helps.
Yes.
Of course, there's room for growth and opportunity for change, but they really do help keep you safe, and they give you the opportunity to find some coping mechanisms and discover what might work for you. And not everyone is the same. So when you have the opportunity to go voluntarily, research the different facilities, call them up and ask questions. It's okay to research and to
Yes.
interview people that are going to help you, just like they're going to interview you to see what's going on and assess you and how they can help you. You can interview and do the exact same. So I'm really happy that you brought that up. And
Yes.
you were so right in the movies. I was watching Girl Interrupted with my mom
Mm,
the other day, and I was sitting there, I was like, oh, that's kind of accurate. No, not accurate. Nope. So being able to recognize that in the movies, it can be very different than what it's like now. And that movie is based on a true story, and it is what it was like back then. That is
yeah.
not necessarily reflective of how it is today. So that's a very important point I want to bring up, that is reflective of a true story. But in today's world, it's a little different, and it's slowly getting better. But you're
Mm,
100% right, not to judge it based on what you see in the movies. So
right.
I know you said, again, going back to Jack.org and the work that you're doing as a speaker, how did you know that you were ready to talk about your mental health in a public forum?
Well, I sort of just jumped in, my first encounter with Jack.org was in one of their previous summits where they post a rap video at the end, like just to summarize what they have talked about. That was really eye-opening. So obviously I've had stage fright before. I've never done much spoken presentations in school, so that will be like a first for me. So I just got motivated to talk about these issues and jumped in whether or not I like I was confident to speak because we do work with a trainer to work on training to be a speaker. So that usually takes about 2 to 3 months, but there are a lot of points to speak. There are a lot of opportunities to improve, lots of tips on how to speak better, I would say. But the first time I gave a Jack talk was in February of 2020. So that was in person when I was still living in Toronto. So I spoke with a high school of well over 1,000 people at once. So that was my first public speech ever. So it was a little bit overwhelming, but it felt so good. Like it felt so good to speak with so many people in front. And I made two such talks in that month of February 2020. And the next month, March, was when the world turned upside down of the pandemic. So I wasn't able to do that for a very long time. I suffered from a huge depression as a result. Wasn't really able to get much help. And when the world started closing down, people were often talking about lockdowns and quarantine, but nobody was talking about the mental health effects of this pandemic. Like, what about the mental health? Like, what about people who need to hang out and socialize uh, to like maintain their positive mental health? What about people who seeks in-person care for their mental illness? What about people like this? Like, it's not just about the pandemic disease itself. It's about everything. Like every part of society matter in this kind of situation. So it was definitely a very hard place to be. But moving onwards, I actually gave my first Jack talk in 2 years last week. So that was great. We did it virtually because we actually do it with a co-speaker, so two speakers together. My other speaker lives very far from here, so we opted to do it virtually. So that was great. The people in the school were really nice, and lots of conversations afterwards. Like we had a feedback form for them to fill out afterwards, and lots of interesting lots of interesting things said afterwards, it's really great.
That is amazing. I cannot believe that your first time speaking, public speaking, you had over 1,000 people to speak to.
Yes.
That is intimidating. I am one who loves to speak. I never stop talking. I
Mm,
am like, you put me in front of people, give me a mic. I'm on
mm,
cloud nine. Love it. We'll do it
mhm.
any time of the day. Um, but I can't even imagine being someone who's so confident in front of an audience. 1,000 people is my very first. I don't know if I've even spoken in front of that many people in person before. So
Mm,
I just want to applaud you. That is incredible. And then to finally get back to doing that after 2 years is amazing. You must be so excited. I mean,
yes.
like you said, those 2 years really were depressing because we were being told to social distance.
Mm,
And it really is physical distancing. I didn't like that they used the word social.
yes.
And for people who need to be around people, sometimes I like to be alone, but I am a people person. I love to be surrounded by people and their energy. And for the first time, I wasn't able to do that. And I didn't know how to cope. And I'm just really happy you brought it up because I don't think that's a conversation we've had enough of. Even
Yes.
now, 2 years through the pandemic or into the pandemic, I want to say, I don't want to
Mhm.
say we're over it. Um, we're still not talking enough about how much it impacted us to be separated from people. So, how long was it before you really got to be around people again and kind of work through that depression?
It's an on and off process. Like it's a little bit difficult to say, but I would say my in-person experiences started becoming like coming back when I moved to Vancouver in last summer. So like I also have a few friends in Vancouver that I hang out with, so that really helped. Like as much as I'm an introverted person, I sometimes need people to hang out with because that can make a big difference. But it was in August 2021 when I participated in this amazing event that I went on a 14-day kayaking trip to the northern part of Vancouver Island with Outward Bound Canada. So that was an eye-opening experience as well. We got to experience so much nature and so many different places as well. So that was really wonderful as well.
That
Yeah.
sounds like so much fun.
Yes.
And wow, 14-day kayaking adventure? That's, oh my goodness, I love that. I'm so jealous. So
Yeah.
now kind of going into more of hobbies and coping skills, let's switch over to music.
Yes.
So you incorporate mental health into teaching music.
Yes.
How do you do that? What inspired you to do that? Let's talk about it.
It just kind of clicked. I studied music in university, and most of my university years, there weren't any mental health conversations until the very end. Some like that changed a little bit at the very end. We had a Jack chapter at our school as well, so that really helped. But mental health in music, that clicked. I don't know where it came from, but it helped. Like it's something that would help so many people because in my previous experience in piano lessons before, there weren't really any mental health conversations in this, but like the implications of mental health in music is huge. Like the effect of mental health in music is like very, very significant. And yet, like so few people are talking about it because there's a lot of perfectionism I found in music as well. Like for instance, like the things that you work on in specific pieces of music, that can be stressful. Like there's a lot of stress in my lessons as well in my previous experience, but it doesn't really have to be that way. Instead, like as I like begin my teaching career, like I'm in the first few steps of that, but incorporating mental health conversations, making it a safe space, making it a stress-free space, that really helps. Like asking them again, like going through the be there golden rules again, like asking them how they are, like how they feel about the music, what what kind of difficulties are they facing? Like, do you think like there's something in your mental health that's playing a role in like tackling this difficult part of the music? So that is something that that can be very eye-opening. Like, I really wish that the teaching methods be changed like in a more positive way, and hopefully maybe I can inspire more people to go through this path of mental health focused music teaching, because it really can change lives. Yeah.
Herbert, I love that you do that. There is not enough focus on mental health teaching. Being considerate of removing stress, of creating a safe space. No matter what you expect from a student and you expect from a class and you want out of them,
Mm,
their mental health is going to play a huge role in that. What they can accomplish, who they can become, a lot of that is going to be tied to their mental health status and how much pressure they can handle. And being a perfectionist versus being a recovering perfectionist, being
mm,
able to make a mistake without beating yourself up and pushing yourself down, being able to be open to growth and to feedback and to criticism.
yeah.
I think you really are changing lives. And I hope teachers everywhere learn from you because that is incredible. I hope you take time to celebrate yourself and honor all the
Yeah.
amazing work you're doing.
Yeah. So just to add on that, there's like one of my first experiences with like a lot of stress in my music program was again touching on the death of my family member again, was that when that happened, I told my professor about that. He said, just I'm sorry that this happened, but he didn't offer any support and he just let things go as if nothing has happened. Like, if I were him right now, like if I were the teacher, I would say, again, really sorry to hear this. Is there anything that I can offer you support? Is there anything like, do you feel like you wanted to take a break from this music that you're doing? Because like music, again, it can be stressful. So like, I respect your space that I want to give you space to grieve. And if you want to take a break, you can have that break. And again, if they, I mean, after that break, when they come back, ask them, how are things feeling? Do you feel like you wanted to continue this music? Do you feel like, do you feel like do you like, are there any accommodations that I can give you to, so you can have success in your music learning journey? Like, I think like much of this is still in the works. There's like still a lot of work to do, but I think that's the general direction that I'm going. That's the general framework where I am going with my teaching.
I love that. It is so common that teachers kind of brush past and move past struggles that people are going through, especially loss. I know in my syllabuses, personally, I can say that unless it was an immediate family member, they
Mm,
don't really even give you an excused absence to leave for a
mm,
funeral. I mean,
mm,
we need to be more, I think,
yeah,
respectful and understanding and ask what support I can offer.
I
That
know.
goes a long way, knowing that someone's here and you're
Yeah,
not being judged and you have space to
yeah.
heal and to grieve and to feel. So, again, you are absolutely amazing. I am so thankful and grateful for the work that you're doing. How can our listeners connect with you today?
Um, just going back a little bit into that, speaking about unexcused school absences, how you mentioned immediate family, that is such a broad term, so in specific, like that causes a lot of stress and trauma as well, like I consider my grandparents as immediate family as well. So that obviously is like really open to interpretation, it's like,
We
yeah,
agree.
like school policies, they are very stressful. Actually, speaking of school policies, I actually uh did a year of masters in my music, but I really needed a year-long break to take care of my mental health because things were really going downhill. And that school didn't accommodate that. And so I like instead of like going through their bureaucratic procedure that is really intimidating, I chose to leave entirely and focus on my own thing and come back when I feel like it. Yeah.
I'm really happy that you were strong enough to recognize that you needed a break. And when your school wasn't able to accommodate it, you didn't force yourself to try through something that your body and your mind sometimes just need a break. I took a semester off because I got to that point too. And I think people are afraid to take time off. They
Mm,
may feel like a failure or that they're quitting or that they're giving up or they're not strong enough. And that's not true. It takes a lot of strength and courage to recognize that you need space to heal
yeah.
and to grieve and to grow and to learn and to feel. I mean, there's so much, and it's okay to take a break. And if your school is unwilling to accommodate you, that's a reflection of them and not of you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Herbert, you've been amazing. How can our listeners connect with you?
So I'm most active on Instagram. So on Instagram is naturally.herb. So that is my username there. So I posted very extensively of the National Jack Summit this weekend. I posted the stories in the highlights. Actually, I learned that there's a limit of 100 stories in a highlight on Instagram. So I reached that. So like it was so extensive. A lot of people were enjoying my post. But like basically Instagram is my only social media, but I also post professional pictures on Flickr. So same username as well, naturally.herb. So Flickr, you could post full resolution pictures without being compressed. And also on YouTube as well. Although YouTube, I post mostly travel videos, I'm really into like photography, like travel photography as well. So like my favorite place that I traveled was in New Zealand in 2019. So that was really amazing. It was actually over there that I recognized that I really need a break from school. Like I've been having such a good time in New Zealand that like I was finally able to think about my immediate future and my like and sort of like some of my long-term goals. So that was very healing as well. So um yeah, so go check out my Instagram and lots of mental health things I've also posted in there. Like when I was taking a break from the Jack talks, I actually condensed the content of the talks to several graphical posts about each main topic. So like but the back like the basics of mental health, like the mental health spectrum as well. Forgot to mention that like the mental health spectrum like can like there's a vertical spectrum, so from healthy to stress to struggling and crisis. So it can range from anywhere on there. And on the horizontal spectrum, there is from no diagnosable mental illnesses to having severe mental illnesses. So your health can range on anywhere on that spectrum. So really encourage you to check that out. And also other points of being there for ourselves, being there for others, and also being there in a crisis. That's also really important as well. And also a little bit of background about jack.org as well and what we do.
You are amazing, absolutely incredible. First of all, I did not know about this travel, so I can't wait to check out your YouTube. Obviously, I follow your Instagram, so I encourage everyone listening to go check out your Instagram to learn more about jack.org, to learn more about you, to connect with you, and to keep having these conversations. You are changing the world. I'm so honored and excited that you joined me
Thank
today.
you. Thank you. So all of those links will be in the video description below, and really amazing to have you. Like you are so amazing as well. Really love the things that you do, like the encouragement cards. That makes a huge difference. And honestly, I can't wait to see where your organization grows. You know, that makes a huge difference.
Thank you so much for all of your kind words and your constant support. I have to say, you have been one of the most frequent and amazing supporters of me and IMG,
Yeah.
commenting on everything I do, supporting, liking, just reaching out. I'm so appreciative of you, and I can't wait to see where you go as well.